Welcome to the KuppingerCole Analyst Chat. I'm your host. My name is Matthias Reinwarth. I'm Lead Advisor, Senior Analyst with KuppingerCole. This again is a special episode of this KuppingerCole Analyst Chat because we are still at EIC in Munich. It's September 2021 and we are catching up on topics that we think are of importance for this event and for the future for our audience, at least we hope so. My guest again is Martin Kuppinger. He is the principal analyst and the founder of KuppingerCole. Hi, Martin.
Hi, I'm Matthias, one of the founders.
One of the founders, sorry for that. We want to continue a discussion that we started in an earlier episode where we talked about standards, about organization, about identities and their processes coming together, joining together, and on the other side being deconstructed, being separated into different aspects of this user journey, of this identity journey, and we want to continue with a concept of a triangle that really shows different dimensions of these processes and this deconstruction of identity processes. Can you a bit explain where we start here?
Yeah, so I think this also kicked off in some of the conversations we had at the conference and earlier, and it started around passwordless authentication, which is a topic that is very prominent these days. And what passwordless is, etc., we'll discuss in a minute. But basically the point is that passwordless authentication, if you do it right, combines security and convenience. And this is very, very different from balancing security and convenience. Combining is both can go up. Balancing is if you go up with one, the other goes down, or the other way right. So the trade-off for more security is less convenience. The trade-off for more convenience is less security. This is balancing. Combining is both. And passwordless authentication, that is the cool thing, is about combining. So you can achieve a higher level of security with a higher level of convenience. But, so we have security and we have convenience. And then there's the trust. So we then maybe as the provider might say, we know that it's more secure, but does the customer or the user trust that this is more secure? Because the experience might be, oh, this is super simple, that can't be secure. So we need to look at this triangle, also sort of make clear that this is really the better way to do it.
Yeah, at first sight, this is counterintuitive because we've been telling people that username password is insecure, but this is more than passwordless for the user experience. So they really have to take a step back and really, or we need to convey the message that this is really more secure. So where lies this trust? Where does this come from?
I think the trust comes from, in some way, it comes from experience. It comes from education. It comes from also explaining a little. And I think there's so much which is not well understood about passwordless authentication. So, but sometimes it's relatively easy to understand and to explain. I think the most important thing is in passwordless authentication, there's no password that travels. So there's nothing like a password that goes from the client's device or the customer's, the user's device to the server. There's nothing like a database of 10 million passwords or password hashes, hopefully password hashes at least, and not just clear text passwords stored on a server. That is not happening in passwordless authentication anymore. But it is that you have an element on your device, a trusted platform module, TPM chip, or secure enclave, which stores secrets, and these secrets are created when you register the device. So you have a device like a smartphone or a notebook, and you register this device and link it to your identity. And then on the device there is some cryptographic key stored, which is then used for the authentication. And if you're able to unlock the device using typically some biometrics, then you are allowed to, or you can authenticate. And then just this cryptographic information is used. There's no password traveling anymore. There's no password database. Clearly, if you would use just a password to unlock your device, nothing biometric, then it wouldn't be really passwordless, even while the password doesn't travel. So I think we need to look at both aspects. The interesting thing is if you have that, then you have, so when we go to this entire authentication, we have always this 3 types of factors: what we know, who we are, and what we possess. And passwordless builds on possession, the device, with this secure chip on it, which is virtually impossible to crack. So no known incident so far would require extreme effort. And it's about the biometrics, so what a person is. Then we have 2 very strong factors combined, which are very easy to use. Maybe aside of face recognition in the age of wearing face masks, then face recognition isn't the best biometric method. But this is really what happens here.
Right, so the security, as you said, is based on the content of this secure enclave of this TPM. That means as long as I do own this device, as long as I have it there, and I can unlock the formally trained TPM secure enclave, this will be actually my authenticator. That will make sure that I can unlock the key mechanisms to encrypt the communication towards the services, and this is actually the passwordless authentication. So that would explain for many who are usually always buying the newest Android phone, newest iPhone, they have to retrain. They will have to go through this process again and again and re-register their devices, right?
It is, I think, two parts of re-registration. So if you have a device and replace it by another device, you have to re-register. If you use that device for service A and service B, you also need to create that pair of cryptographic keys. So it is this device registration thing we have. Sometimes it is then that you have one provider which then acts as the IDP to others, the identity provider to others. Then it's lesser registration. So this is what frequently happens, so that you don't have too many of these registration steps, but it's part of what you have to do, and that's part of the journey. The good thing is, and I think this is where really the trust can come from. We had this discussion just yesterday about, but what happens if someone steals the biometric information about my face? Mm-hmm. The good thing is that information is on the TPM chip locally, virtually impossible to crack, and it's not this 70 million record of passwords database somewhere at a large company which can be hacked, where data can leak, which then appears in the darknet, which can be purchased. This is exactly not what is happening here. You've never heard about 70 million records of data points for faces cracked, leaked, stolen. This will not happen because it doesn't exist that way. It doesn't work that way. And this is where we get rid of a huge risk we have experienced so frequently over the past decades already, I need to say. This is what really is a change, and this is why we can trust more. Yes, we need to trust in the TPM chip in the enclave, and we pay in some way a price of creating these links between the device and the services where we authenticate. This is something we need to do, which, by the way, brings one interesting problem or challenge. That is, if we have many devices, or if we are on business travel, or whatever, Android phone or iPhone falls to the floor, crashes, we need a new phone, then we have to recreate these connections. It's not just power it on and everything is working again. Right. So a little bit like when you just bring in a new Windows computer and log in with your Microsoft ID, where a lot of this spec, this alone doesn't help. By the way, you also then need to verify this device again if you bring up your next Windows computer, because of Windows Hello, and the way it authenticates, which also goes into passwordless, it's the same. You also need to then create this link. You need to create, you don't see that as a pair of cryptographic keys, but you need to create it. It's the same thing which is happening. And so we need to figure out ways how, so I think we will not get rid of this link the device to it, register the device. That is what we need to do. But we need to ensure that we can do that and then still get all the other things we had on our device back as easy as we can. For instance, when we are traveling abroad, we need to change our phone and we might still need a COVID pass. How can we do that? These are things we solve, but they are independent of the other part.
Right, and as you said, when we need to bootstrap a new device, at that point in time, we do need some other credentials as well. We will need at least something like a password or another third factor for being able to re-register our fingerprint, our face with this mechanism to make sure that we add this level of security, because your face, my fingerprint, these are not secrets.
No, and they are not stored centrally also. That's the other side of the thing. And so there's nothing where we can say, okay, we have it, we compare it with everything we know about Matthias and his face on a central server. We need to redo it. That's part of it, but that is, I think, also which can help us over time creating the trust that because these things don't travel, you have to do that step the next time again, because it just doesn't travel. And this is really, I think, an interesting thing. And part of what the industry clearly needs to do is to educate about the trust part, because the convenience part you can achieve is very visible. And I think many of us experience it already day by day, because it's not about always entering usernames and passwords. And it's really a different thing. And the security is definitely higher. Just think about the 70 million passwords not being stolen because they don't exist anymore, these databases. And that's really where we need to move on.
Right, and in the earlier episode we discussed about this GAIN network where we have verified identities, strongly verified identities, but that does not mean that we cannot have this type of convenience as well by linking, for example, my Android account, my iPhone, my Apple account to this verified identity. We can have the best of both worlds. We have the high level of assurance, and we can...
I think there was a misconception. You're not linking your Apple account. You're linking your iPhone.
Exactly.
And I think that's very important. You're not linking your Apple account. You're not linking some Google account on your Android phone. What you're linking is the device.
Exactly, but represented through because it's connected to the device.
But be careful.
But the authenticator is the device.
That's the point.
And
what really works very intensively in the background usually are the FIDO Alliance standards. By the way, standards we've gave an award to a couple of years ago.
Exactly.
Already at European Identity Conference as one of the most essential standards, and it has proven true. Some other standards, by the way, also evolved here. OpenID Connect, if I remember right, sort of the first steps have been made at our conference a couple of years ago. Right. So yes, there are important standards, and this is what makes it work. And so yes, we are at that point where we can combine security and convenience, and we need to build the trust in that. I think a lot of people trust it. But we easily can, if you do it right, I think we can easily explain why there can be a high trust on that. And I always start with saying, hey, there's not this 70 million password database which can be stolen.
Right, so the next step, whom to educate are the service providers to make sure that they benefit from these new highly trusted frameworks and get rid of their 70 million username password databases and move towards a more secure, more resilient, and just more convenient platform for doing authentication.
Which goes then back to saying, okay, I also can use, maybe I continue for a while my username password access, not to be too disruptive to my users, but I add other options to that. I allow to come in with LinkedIn, Google, which have some form of two-factor already, which are shifting that way, so relying on others. There are various ways to do it, and we can proceed that way. So, yes, let's look forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, this is a great summary. We as analysts, we can only recommend, we can only educate, we can hopefully identify the right standards, as you said, to help in things evolving in the right direction, at least what we consider to be the right direction. But it's great to see things coming together, just like we do here at EIC 2021. So thank you again, Martin, for being my guest today, and really looking forward to what will be happening the next 2 days here. So yeah, thanks for being here.
Thank you.